Huddle Up Biker Bible Study. How we doing tonight?
Woo. Good.
Melting because of the heat?
AC.
Having to change shirts 2 or 3 times a day. It's so humid outside. But it's okay. Makes the grass grow. Oh man, the grass grew. Now I gotta mow.
Yeah.
Why? Why, oh why? I want to be on. These ones. Thank you. It's not one thing, it's 30 more, I swear. There it goes. So, last week, I skipped out on y'all. We had a meeting to go to Wednesday night. So we had Miss Vicky in here. And she did 1 Kings 7 and 8. So Solomon built a temple. Solomon's built his house. Now he's building stuff for other people. He runs out of gold. We're going to talk about that tonight because that's a whole lot of gold he went through. So tonight we're going to do 1 Kings chapter 9. And depending on the discussion, we may try to do chapter 10 as well. We shall see. Okay? Let me open us up in a word of prayer and we'll get into it about that. Heavenly Father, Lord God, again, we thank you for this beautiful day that you've given us. Lord, we thank you for this nice, cool building that you gave us to sit in and a wonderful word to read. And thank you for the words from so long ago about King Solomon and all the things that he was doing. Lord, settle these things in our heart tonight. Clear our minds so that we understand what it is you're trying to show us. Lord, we just ask you to come be with us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So, what do you think about old Solomon? You know, he's pretty good, isn't he? Right? He built a house for the Lord. And he moved the Ark of the Covenant in there. Right? Beautiful place. Absolutely wonderful. But the question I keep asking is, was he asked to do that? God had said, yes, do this. It becomes important later on that he learns what he should and shouldn't do. Because in the end, spoiler alert, he does things he's not supposed to do.
Imagine that.
Yeah, like we all do. All right, so here we go. 1 Kings chapter 9, verse 1 says this. It says, as soon as Solomon had finished building the house of the Lord, and the king's house, and all that Solomon desired to build. In other words, all the things that he wanted to do for people. Right? The Lord appeared to Solomon a second time, and as he appeared to him at Gibeon. And the Lord said to him, I have heard your prayer and your plea, which you have made before me. I have consecrated this house that you have built by putting my name there forever. My eyes and my heart will be there for all time. That's a good thought, right? Now, another spoiler alert. It doesn't last very long. It doesn't last long at all. I heard a preacher say this one time. Said, you know, our God is immaculate. He's immense. He's beyond reproach. He is perfect in every way. But he is the best example of an if-then relationship. If you do this, then I will promote you. I will support you. If you do that, then I will curse you. Don't believe me? Just go digging around and look for the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Verse 4. I can find it. And as for you, if you walk before me as David your father walked, with integrity of heart and uprightness, doing according to all that I have commanded you, and keeping my statutes and my rules, then I will establish your royal throne over Israel forever. As I promised David your father, saying, you shall not lack a man on the throne of Israel. Now, does that mean he's going to make Solomon live forever? No. You have to understand that even these, I won't call this a promise, this is a directive. But even some of the promises of God, because the way it's written, make it sound like it is terminally forever. But there's term limits to everything he does. I will make you the king of Israel, and Israel will always have a king. Does not mean that you will always be the king of Israel. Just making sure we stay on point with that, okay? Verse 6 then says, but, that's the biggest three-letter word there is in the English language. You know, I'll love you forever, but you can have this beautiful car, but you need an expansion on your house? We got that for you, but if you turn aside from following me, you and your children, and do not keep my commands, my statutes that I have set before you, but go and serve other gods and worship them, then I will cut off Israel from the land that I have given them, and the house that I have consecrated for my name I will cast out of my sight, and Israel will become a proverb and a byword among all peoples. Okay, so here it is. Do everything I tell you. Walk in the ways I tell you to walk, and your path will be clear forever. Stray off into the field, and you will stumble. Go to the places I tell you not to go, and I will take away your home. Just think back over the last 2,000 to 3,000 years of Israel. Have they followed his commandments? Have they walked down the path they told him to do, that he told them to do? No. So what happens? They are suffering that word that we hate so much in English language. Consequences. I could do anything I want if there weren't consequences. And a lot of times nowadays people think that's just it. I can do whatever I want. They don't know the other part of it. There's consequences to that.
Sometimes the consequences are good. Sometimes they ain't.
Sometimes they're just a little more than handle. 8. And this house will become a heap of ruins. Now, which house is he talking about? Solomon's house or God's house? In this particular case, it really doesn't matter, because what happened to both of them? They got destroyed. Again, spoiler alert, but you got to learn. You got to look ahead, right? It says, everyone passing by will be astonished and will hiss. And they will say, why has the Lord done this to this land and to this house? Then they will say, because Solomon was an idiot. Oh, I'm sorry, that's not what it said. It says, because they abandoned the Lord their God, who brought their fathers out of the land of Egypt, and laid hold on other gods, and worshipped them, and served them. Therefore the Lord has brought all this disaster on them.
So it wasn't affecting other people in a kind of a good way.
Say that again.
It was affecting other people in a good way because it showed them what not to do.
Right. Right. But do you think they learned? Did we learn? We still make those mistakes. We cannot live perfect lives. But what do we have that they didn't have? By the blood of Christ, we have forgiveness. Absolutely. Absolutely. But where grace abounds doesn't mean we can sin abundantly. Right? Right. 10. At the end of 20 years, in which Solomon had built 2 houses, the house of the Lord and the king's house, and Hiram, the king of Tyre, had supplied Solomon with cedar and cypress timber and gold, as much as he desired. And King Solomon gave to Hiram 20 cities in the land of Galilee. Now, we're going to learn a lot about those cities in the future, but guess what? Go look for them now. They don't exist. And what you'll find as we get through this, where these cities are, well, when we get there, I'll explain. Let's see. Verse 12, right? 13. No, 12.
12. Yeah.
But when Hiram came to Tyre to see the cities that Solomon had given him, they did not please him. Hey, I want to give you 20 cities. Here they are. And you go out and you look at them. Well, you got to know who Hiram is, right? Hiram, the governor of Tyre, right? It's also, you'll find out here in just a second, the son-in-law of the Pharaoh of Egypt. Okay? So, do you think he likes substandard stuff, or does he like the best of the best? I'm going to tell you a little secret more about him. He's a Phoenician. Phoenicians love to be on the water. They are the sailors of the old days. Okay? Check this out. 13 says, therefore he, Hiram, said, what kind of cities are these that you've given me, my brother? So they are called the land of Kabul to this day. Get your pen ready. What does the word Kabul mean? Ain't worth nothing.
It's a pile of bull.
It's literally a pile of bull. It is worthless. It is not usable. So, in our terms, it might be, there's nobody here who is from here, and it may be Harriman or Oliver Springs or Coalfield, right? It's the less desirable of Roane County. I don't mean that any way other than because of the way those cities have turned out. Well, here's what he's saying. These cities that you gave me are a bunch of crap. One, when we start reading the names, they're nowhere near the water. Remember, if he's Phoenician, he wants to be near the water. So, where are these cities in Kabul? Well, let's look on here. So we're in verse 14. It says, Hiram had sent to the king 120 talents of gold. Have any idea how much that is? Currently, about $161 million. That's what he gave the king to help him out. Why did he have to help him out? Because Solomon had spent all of his gold. It's gone. He's on the broke list. He's getting food stamps. Well, that's pushing a little much, right? But you get the idea. He ain't got nothing left. He spent all of his money building the temple to God, then building the temple of his house for his wife. We'll get back to that later. Ain't got nothing left. So Hiram says, well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 120 talents. And he says, okay, good. Then I'll give you these 20 cities.
Where did all this gold come from?
From the areas just north of Egypt where those huge gold mines were.
Okay. Cool.
15. And this is the account of the forced labor that King Solomon drafted to build the house of the Lord, and his own house, and the Milo, and the wall of Jerusalem, and Hazar, and Megiddo, and, hey brother, how would you say that word, that next town? Say it again.
Geezer?
Who you calling a geezer? Now, that's the way we would pronounce it, but it should have an extra E in the front. So it's actually Gezer. Yeah. That's the way it's said. So, and Gezer. Now, if you look at it on the map, I don't have it up there, but if you looked at Israel, the long side of Israel, right in the middle of the locations is where these towns are. They do become incredibly important border patrol towns. So they keep out intruders from the north and from the east, and even those from the south. Okay, that's what they were built for. So these are fortified cities. And you would think that they would be worth something. But remember what he just said. You gave me this Kabul. Okay? Now, check this out. So that long stretch of Israel, and where is these cities of Kabul? It's in Galilee. Now, what's so good about Galilee? What do we know about that area?
Sea of Galilee.
Well, the Sea of Galilee is over on the coast.
Right.
This is not in the Sea of Galilee. This is in the kingdomship of Galilee, which happens to be where Jesus Christ did all of his teachings. So this pile of crap is where Jesus taught us to be his disciples. So it's no longer a pile of crap. Well, the cities are now, but you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
So here's what it says. So Megiddo up to Gezer is what I'm going to say, just like you did, right? That's the retirement location. Anyway, so 16. Pharaoh, now this is in parentheses, right? So parentheses means it was added later. It's in the footnotes, right? So Pharaoh, king of Egypt, had gone up and captured Gezer and burned it with fire and had killed the Canaanites who lived in the city and had given it as a dowry to his daughter, which is Solomon's wife. A couple things I got to say about this. So Dad goes and burns all these towns down and gives it to his daughter. Here you go. Here's this Kabul, literally piles of crap, for your dowry, for that no good husband of yours, Solomon. Now, there are, I think they said there's one town they have found, and it has like 27 distinct ancestral divisions that you can see in the walls of this town. So one civilization comes along and builds up, and then it gets destroyed, and another one builds up, and it gets destroyed, and it gets built up, and somewhere down through there, about 3,000 years worth of rubble, they find burn marks where the king of Egypt's son-in-law, Hiram, burnt that town. Because none of the other stones, none of the other layers of ancestral material has the burn marks on it. How cool is that? I just wish I could go over and just take a peek through stuff. You know? I really do wish I could. Okay, 17. 17 then says, so Solomon rebuilt Gezer, and lower Beth-Aron and Balath and Tamar and the wilderness in the land of Judah. Now we're talking about the cities that are down south, not the northern territory, not that long stretch, but down south, right? So they're the ones that are the border protection from anybody coming up from Egypt, okay? Then it says in 19, it says, and all the stone cities that Solomon had, and the cities for his chariots, and the cities for his horsemen, and whatever Solomon desired to build in Jerusalem, in Lebanon, and in all the land of his dominion. Now, one of these towns, I think it's Hazer is how we say it, it's Hazer, is actually found a foundry where they built what's the word? It's not tire, on a chariot. Wheels. On the wheels of the chariot were built in this town. So they found the foundry that built Solomon's chariots. How cool is that? Well, they also built something else. We'll get to it in a minute. 20. 20 says this. It says, all the people who were left of the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, the Termites, all those people, I talked about that a while ago, who were not of the people of Israel. Then it says, their descendants who were left after them in the land, whom the people of Israel were unable to devote to destruction. In other words, they could not kill them. Yeah. Right? It says, these Solomon drafted to be slaves, and so they are to this day when this was written thousands of years ago. So he enslaved all of the children and the descendants of the area once everything was destroyed.
All the ites.
Yep, all the ice. Yep. So they sent those into the gold mines and stuff like that, right? To answer our question earlier. 22 says, but of the people of Israel, Solomon made no slaves. They were the soldiers. They were his officials, his commanders, his captains, his chariot commanders, and his horsemen. These were the chief officers who were over Solomon's work. 550 who had charge of the people who carried on the work. Okay, so that's a bunch of bosses, right? Yep. But Pharaoh's daughter went up from the city of David to her own house that Solomon had built for her. Then he built the Milo. Three times a year, Solomon used to offer up burnt offerings and peace offerings on the altar that he built to the Lord, making offerings with it before the Lord. So he finished the house. What's wrong with that statement? Remembering that this is okay. Very good. So this house was done. Solomon is not a descendant of Levi. He is not a priest. Why is he doing any of the offerings? Now, last week, Vicky told you that he did the dedication offering. That's an exception to the rule. That's not an offering to appease God for anything. It's an offering saying this temple is yours. This is saying he made offerings not once, not twice, not just 3 times, but 3 times a year.
So this is probably not something that he was told to do.
No.
By any means of the imagination should he ever be doing
In
this.
his own mind,
In his mind, that's the problem, and that's where we get into a lot of these issues with people saying that Christ isn't this and this denomination is that or whatever. It's because they're not doing what they were told to do. They were doing what they think is right. Well, remember, before Israel had a king, there was a statement. Everyone did what they wanted because there was no king in Israel. It was right in their own eyes.
Well, this is kind of the stereotypical story of Israel.
Yep. We keep seeing it even today. 26. 26 says, King Solomon built a fleet of what?
Ships.
Now, why would somebody need ships?
Well,
Do you think Dad-in-law is convincing him that, hey, you need a navy? So this is actually the first time a naval engagement is planned out. Go ahead.
defense.
Defense, right. You going to say? Okay. So it says, King Solomon built a fleet of ships at Ezion-Geber, which is near Eloth, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. Now, we've seen Edom before. Do you remember the main story of Edom? Would not let... Go ahead.
Had to travel through it.
Yeah, you can't travel through Edom. We don't allow it. So they had to go all the way around to get to the north side of Israel, which is where they wound up coming in at Jericho, instead of going up through Edom for a quicker route. Okay, very good. 27, it says, and Hiram, remember Hiram? That's his wife's father, who's the son-in-law of the Egyptian king, right? It says, and Hiram sent with the fleet his servants, seamen, who were familiar with the sea, together with the servants of Solomon. And they went to Ophir and brought from there gold, 420 talents, and they brought it to King Solomon. So remember a minute ago I told you that he gave him 120 talents, and I said that was about 161 million. Well, this is 4 times that. So almost 800 million plus the other 160 million. That means the whole buku of money.
And Hiram wasn't one of the likes the wanted to be near the water.
He's a Phoenician. Yeah.
So he had the seamen. They were part of his crew.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
800 million. I see no way the government could waste that money.
They could sneeze and do that. Anyway. So what do you think? You think Solomon's getting it under control? You know, he is. David is the uniter of the kingdom, right? And I've got a sheet here that Sister Grace printed out. Just a little information sheet. You guys can take these here. But on this sheet, it talks about who's the king, who's the prophet, what scriptures. But right in the middle, it says, how did they start? As good. How did they end? Good or evil, right? So Saul started out good, but wound up evil. Then David started out good, had problems in the middle, but ended up good, right? But now look at Solomon. We're just into the first part of his good, but at the end, he will become evil. Evil. So, we go back and we look at chapter 10, verse 1. Chapter 10 says, now that all that's happened, right? When the queen of Sheba heard of the fame of Solomon concerning the name of the Lord, she came to test him with hard questions. Where were you on the night of Wednesday, September 7th, 17th? Yeah, there was a movie about it. What was his name? It wasn't Yul Brynner. It was one of those types, though. Now I'll have to go look it up and see.
That'd drive me crazy.
Yeah. All right. So the Queen of Sheba, she's gonna come asking some questions. She came to Jerusalem with a very great. How do you say this word? Retinue. Train. Okay. So, yeah, it's a long processional of, the next line says, with camels bearing spices and very much gold and precious stones. And when she came to Solomon, she told him all that was on her mind. We would have to say she gave him a piece of her mind, right? She went off on his whatever. This is the way I look at it. So then Solomon answered all her questions. There was nothing hidden from the king that he could not explain to her. And when the queen of Sheba had seen all the wisdom of Solomon, remember he was a pretty smart, what did he pray for?
Wisdom.
He prayed for wisdom and he got it in abundance, right? It says the house that he had built, the food at his table, the seating of his officials, and the attendance of the house of the Lord, there was no more breath in her. Something happened there. What happened? Oh, I skipped a line. The food at his table, the seating of his officials, the attendance of his servants, their clothing, his cupbearers, and his burnt offerings that he offered at the house of the Lord, there was no more breath in her. Okay.
I think she was a dancer. That's where that came in my mind. In the movie, she was a dancer, wasn't she?
You're thinking of before Herod, the daughter-in-law, the
gets
The Dance of the Seven Bells. Yeah.
John's
Yeah,
head.
gets John the Baptist's head cut off.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, got him mixed up. That's right. Thank you. Whoops.
No, you're fine.
Yeah. No more breath in her. So she had no more questions.
So the Queen of Sheba movie was 1952, and it starred who? Elizabeth Taylor and Charlton Heston.
Oh, wow.
So I knew it was in the right era, but I couldn't think of his name. Charlton Heston. So, all right, where are we then? So we just read 9, so we're in 10. No, we just read 5. Just read 5. We're in 6. Okay, so she had no more breath in her. And she said to the king, "The report was true that I heard in my own land of your words and of your wisdom." And then that little 3-letter word. But I did not believe the reports until I came on my own, and my own eyes had seen it. And behold, the half was not told to me. Your wisdom and prosperity certainly stand before you, and here, no, that's not right. Your wisdom and your prosperity surpass. I cannot make my eyes see that line. Surpass the report that I had heard. In other words, you got it going on plus some, right?
Are we sure she said this? That's a lot to say for being out of breath.
I know. I know, man. 8.
Sounds like she kind of maybe like him a little bit.
You think so? Big. I gotta watch how I say that. Anyway, 8. Happy are your men. Happy are your servants who continually stand before you and hear your wisdom. Blessed be the Lord your God, who has delighted in you and set you on the throne of Israel. Because the Lord loved Israel forever, he has made you king, that you may execute justice and righteousness. So yeah, she's buttering him up, isn't she? Yeah, buddy. Then she gave the king, look at there again, 120 talents of gold, about $161 million, and a very great quantity of spices and precious stones. Never again came such an abundance of spices as these that the Queen of Sheba gave to King Solomon. So she was just laying it on thick
I think
with all the good stuff, right?
yeah, she was.
Are you doing a little judging there?
Ulterior motive.
Are you doing a little judging there?
Oh, she's just
Oh,
buying
you're so
herself
wonderful. You're just wonderful.
She's just buying herself a politician seat.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Verse 11. Moreover, the fleet of Hiram, which brought gold from Ophir, brought from Ophir a very great amount of almug wood and precious stones.
What is it?
What is almug wood?
You know what they built the mercy seat out of, or the holder for it?
No.
Red sandalwood.
Is that
I
It-
imagine
and
sandalwood?
most-
Is that tree?
It's a tree, sandalwood tree from India or Sri Lanka.
Well, now we know what it smells like.
Yeah. It's also called algum, almug or algum wood. Huh. Very good.
In India or where?
Sri,
Sri
S-R-I,
Lanka. Sri Lanka.
Lanka, L-A-N-K-A. So, and precious stones, right? And then verse 12 he says this. He says, and the king made of the almug wood supports for the house of the Lord and for the king's house. Also, I say this word is leers. Some people call it liars. But I just think they're a bunch of them. Anyway, so, and lyres and harps for the singers. No such almug wood has come or been seen to this day. Did they cut down the last of it to make these posts to hold up his new
Maybe
house?
The last of it in that region.
The last of it in that region, probably, right? 13. And King Solomon gave to the queen of Sheba all that she desired, whatever she asked, besides what was given her by the bounty of King Solomon. So she turned and went back to her own land with her servants.
I was wrong.
What?
He was right, and I was wrong. Shoot, it was political, not personal.
Well. Now check this out. It says, now the weight of the gold that came to Solomon in 1 year was 660 talents of gold. Take your calculators out and multiply that by 161, and you'll see that it's several $1 billion worth of gold. Besides which, that which came from the explorers and from the businesses of the merchants and from all the kings of the west and from the governors of the land. So he's getting it from everywhere, right? That comment about the politicians starting to ring a little truer, isn't it? It says, King Solomon made 200 large shields of beaten gold. 600 shekels of gold went into each shield. A shekel, remember, is about 75 pounds.
What is the shield? What does that mean?
I'm sorry, a talent is 75. A shekel is 2/5 of an ounce. Shield, an actual armored shield for a soldier.
Soldiers.
17.
They were gold? My goodness.
That was the best the substance they had back then.
Gold is soft.
If it's purified, yes. But if it still has the alloys in it, it's not. It's very, very, very strong. Said, and made 200 large shields of beaten gold, 600 shekels. It said that. And the king put them in the house of the forest of Lebanon. What forest is in Lebanon? Is that very specific type. This giant cedars. Some say the largest trees ever stood on earth. Right? 18. 18 says, the king also made a great ivory throne and overlaid it with the finest gold.
I like gold.
So maybe, did they have elephants?
Elephants, rhinoceroses,
Ivory from...
everything, anything. It wasn't outlawed back then.
Because we talked about elephants one day, that maybe they used elephants to move those stones.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes they did. Where am I? 19. 19 says, the throne had 6 steps, and at the back of the throne was the calf's head, and on each side of the seat were armrests and 2 lions standing beside the armrests. I did not. That's why it didn't make sense. It says the throne had 6 steps, and at the back of the throne was a calf's head.
No, isn't it a rounded top or
And the
something?
throne had a round top, and on each, and the throne had a round top. This was half the
That's the
line.
next, verse 20.
That's half the line.
Oh, right.
I'm just reading 19. Am I okay?
It's the end of 19, and the throne had a round top. Is it in 19?
No.
Oh,
Listen.
I'll just go.
And on each side of the seat were armrests and 2 lions standing beside the armrests. Now, verse 20. Now, verse 20 says, while 12 lions stood there, one on each end of a step on the 6 steps, the like of which has never been seen in my kingdom. I just saw what you were talking about, and I don't see it still.
That's alright. It has a rounded top. I think
Okay.
it's all-
It's just half of the line, not the whole line. It's
It's
just the whole line. It's just half.
I apologize. I don't see it now.
In 19, the throne had 6 steps, and the throne had a round top.
Okay, mine does not say that. Mine says the throne had 6 steps, and at the back of the throne was a calf's head. It doesn't say anything about round.
Wow.
The top of the throne was round behind.
Does this one say it?
These are live
That's what it counted.
animals they're talking about, right?
The
Yeah.
throne had 6
Or
steps.
something.
I'll agree it had 6 steps.
Had a round top. Sure enough, my Bible doesn't have those words. It's like they cut it off right there when they went to the next page.
Out of ink. Out of ink.
Oh, side note, pardon me. The front half
Yeah.
printed.
Oh.
It's laying up there. It finally decided, well, I might have enough ink, and it went ahead and printed. I printed the sheets for last night's Recovery Live, and the part we need is the back part of the page. It printed that just fine, and then it said not enough ink to print the front. So it's just a pretty picture. It's no big deal. I came in today and it finally decided it had enough ink and it printed that front page. It's so fun. All right, so I apologize. That's the first time this Bible's ever let me down like that. So it's rounded at the top. There we go. 2 lines by, okay, verse 20. Here we go. While 12 lines stood there, one on each end of the step, on the 6 steps, the like of which was never made in any kingdom. These are solid gold.
Well, there's not a lot of
No.
Yeah, one off the throne.
them.
Yes, he did.
Wow.
All King Solomon's drinking vessels were gold, and all the vessels of the house of the forest of Lebanon were of pure gold. None were of silver, because silver was not considered as anything in the days of Solomon.
Man, silver if I considered anything.
Got so much gold, we don't pay no mind to see it.
Yeah. All I can think of, if you're not first, you're last. Ricky Bobby.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as second.
For the king had a fleet of ships at Tarshish at sea with the fleet of Hiram. Once every 3 years, the fleet of ships of Tarshish used to come bringing gold and silver and ivory and apes and peacocks. Why don't I just throw something like that in there?
What would they do with eggs?
I have no use for them.
Yeah.
Now, it says that some translations, instead of saying apes, says baboons.
Okay.
Okay, just to let you know that.
Still, they're not much use.
No, but peacocks are pretty.
Yeah, peacocks, I can see.
On my drive to work in North Carolina, I passed this little corner, just a house, just a little yard that was fenced, and they had peacocks included in an albino. And every morning, that albino peacock was sitting up on a fence post, all spread out as we passed by. I love that. That was such a cool scene. It has nothing to do with this story, but
No scent white.
yeah, solid
No,
white,
I
no
haven't
color
either.
whatsoever, pink eyes, the whole thing. Yep.
Oh,
23 says, thus King Solomon excelled all the kings of the earth in riches and in wisdom. Of the two, which is the most important? Riches or wisdom?
got wisdom, you get rich.
Because the fool and his money are soon
Yeah.
parted.
Very
You
good.
got riches, got no wisdom, you lose them.
Like I said, all the kings of the earth.
Yes. All the kings of the earth. And the whole earth sought the presence of Solomon to hear his wisdom, which God had put into his mind. Let's keep that in mind, right? God put the wisdom there. Every one of them brought his present, articles of silver and gold, garments, myrrh, spices, horses, mules, so much year by year. Solomon gathered together the chariots and the horsemen. He had 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, whom he stationed in the chariot cities and with the king in Jerusalem. And the king made silver, no, that's not what it says. And the king made silver as common in Jerusalem as stone, as he made cedar is plentiful, as the sycamore of the Shafalala. Fa-la-la-la-la. How would you say it? Shafalala.
Shafila.
Shafila.
That's harken,
She's got more education than me do. Huh?
that's harkens back to when God said, you know, He would make Israel the head, not the tail,
Mm-hmm.
and they would be a lender to many other countries, but borrow from no one.
Yep.
And that's kind of what all this is reminding me of.
Very good. 28. And Solomon's import of horses was from Egypt, and the king traders received them from Q at a price. A chariot could be imported from Egypt for 600 shekels of silver and a horse for 150. And though the king's traders, and through the king's traders, thank you, they were exported to all the kings of the Hittites and the kings of Syria.
This is the first time he said he paid for it.
Well, it does talk about him giving or paying his people wages,
Yes.
but this is the first time that he's
for products.
right. Now, let's go back to that conversation you two were having a little bit ago. Is that political? Is he trying to buy their?
Yeah.
You call it when you're not against someone, you're for them. Their allegiance. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you, brother. We have allegiance together.
Well, he controls all horses and chariots too.
And ships.
So therefore, he controls all the surrounding countries' militaries.
All the trade.
First day.
Now, why would he need such all
He got
these things?
everything that was traded or sold, he got a
Got a kickback.
kickback.
He was
As
the
far as
first
everything was
First Uncle Sam.
But he has all of the wisdom that God imparted on him.
Maybe he's afraid somebody's going to try to get him.
Maybe he knows that someone's going to because of the wisdom God gave him. See, these are the questions we just have to wait to hear the answer to. Next week, 6 o'clock. Don't forget.
He's trying. He's trying.
Say again, I'm sorry, Miss Rand.
It seems like he's starting to question whether he.
I don't think so. I think he's literally just soaking it up that he's the king that's so smart, everybody wants to come and pay homage to him. You want to give me your gold? Go ahead. You want to give me your silver? Throw it in the back. If you want to give me apes, baboons, yeah, turn them loose in the, yeah.
White peacock.
And the white peacock, yeah. Wow, how? But still, the story we just read is true. The names have not been changed, other than me just being stupid. Anyway, but think about that. He built the temple for the Lord. He built his house. He built his wife's house, right? This Milo thing, right? And now he's getting even more and more stuff. But he's still, year by year, doing 3 sacrifices. What do you think the sacrifices, what dates do you think they would be on? Now, we'll have to assume here, because it doesn't say, but what were 3 major things that would have happened that they would have had ceremonies for back then?
Solstice.
Passover is one.
Oh, I'm thinking.
You're thinking earthly stuff. I'm talking
Yes.
Jewish tradition.
I'm thinking pagan.
Yeah. So, Passover, right, which is them celebrating the angel of death not killing the children of Israel because they had posted blood on the doorstops, right? So that's one. What else? So the Feast of Tabernacles, right?
I was thinking tabernacle.
That's 2. And the third one threw me for a loop.
4th of July.
That's just about right. Pentecost. 50 days after the new moon, they had a celebration for God bringing in the harvest. Well, I associate Pentecost with the death of Christ. And when I read that, I was like, no way. This is way before Christ. No, it had nothing to do with it. Christ that happened to him on Pentecost.
No.
I mean, not
Birth of the church.
the birth of the church happened. Thank you. But that was after Christ died. That's where I was going with that. Right, but the Pentecost itself was 50 days after the first the new moon, so they're ready to gather their crops and be harvested.
So that goes back to the thing.
Has nothing to do with pagans.
The new moon?
It has nothing to do with pagans want to take ownership of it, but God created the heavens and the earth, and He created the moon,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. But yes, they had a ceremony. Big deal. You know?
Well, and that was one of the ceremonies that back in, I don't remember Leviticus or where, but that they were supposed to, that they were commanded by God to celebrate and give sacrifices and stuff like that in celebration of the harvest.
Yep. So, interesting though that he, again, chose to do that. With him not being of the tribe of Levi. He was not a priest. He just took it upon himself. Hey, I'm the king. It's good to be the king. I do what I want to do, right?
Well, it seems strange that he had wisdom given by God, but also do that.
Yeah, it does say that God imparted into him wisdom. It doesn't say God took away stupidity. It doesn't. We're still men. We still make stupid mistakes.
Well, I think
Yeah.
the whole story of Solomon too is like, you know, this man who literally has everything under the sun.
Yep.
You know, and it's still not enough.
Y'all just keep bringing me stuff. That's what matters. Y'all just keep bringing it to me.
Keeps
So was
making,
he, I'm sorry,
keeps making things out of it.
well, I was wondering, was he the first hoarder?
Well, he kept, you know what? That's a good thought, because he kept building houses, building buildings, and stuffing stuff in there, covering it with gold. So was he a hoarder of gold?
I was gonna say the joke, you know, that since there was no more breath left in, you know,
And the daughter?
in the Queen of Sheba.
Oh, Queen of Sheba, yeah.
Yeah, he won the first argument with a woman. Because there's no more breath in her, because she answered all of her questions.
My husband says you used what I lost my voice one time. He said because you used up all your words.
Yeah.
You're only allowed so many words, and you used them all.
I'm going to go ahead and turn off the camera and we'll do our personal and private prayer requests. Don't forget Sunday, we're back in 1 Corinthians. We're still talking about Paul sending a letter to the church.
Is Ecclesiastes that's also about Solomon? Somebody told me 2 nights ago the group they're in is studying Solomon in the book of, and I can't remember. I was thinking it was Ecclesiastes, but it was a big word. It's all about Solomon.
Hold on. I have a book here.
I told him we've been studying Solomon in First Kings.
Well, 1 Kings, yeah, that's where it
Yeah.
talks about it.
Yeah.
But Ecclesiastes doesn't come until after Proverbs. Doesn't mean anything time-wise, but
But
it's
it's
a book.
before the Song of Solomon.
Right. So let me look here what it says. Zechariah, Haggai, Isaiah, Jeremiah. I can't wait to get to Jeremiah. Proverbs, what's after?
You guys are Proverbs?
No, and no one either. Okay, Ecclesiastes is written by King Solomon. The book shows him as wealthy, wise, and successful in all his dealings, including building the first temple, which we just read about, having shared in the emptiness in Ecclesiastes that comes from not conversing with God enough to have a strong relationship with Him. Remember I said, look at that paper, he starts out good and ends up evil? It's because he walks away from God. I hadn't told you that part yet, we hadn't gotten there yet. It says Solomon had already tried many things to ease his sense of feeling lost in the world, pleasure, work, and intelligence. So, here's chapter 8 of Ecclesiastes. The tagline is, in an unfair world, God is still fair. Oh, that's good. I can't wait to get there. That's going to be 3-4 years from now.
The God of the day is so God of the night.
And He will be the same yesterday, today, and it'll be yesterday to Him tomorrow.
close to 60.